With American family members taking turns to eat and children suffering from malnutrition, in the early 1930s, America was hungry. Cities were filled with people in line to receive bread and soup, which would remain forever in history as the breadlines and soup kitchens of the Great Depression. With 15 million unemployed and hundreds of thousands migrating into the already desperate cities, the government was doing something downright bizarre, getting rid of food. Oranges were being soaked in kerosene, corn was being burnt, and livestock was being slaughtered and left to rot. However, these were the right things to do, and so was paying the farmers not to farm. Nothing says America more than farming, except maybe coffee and beer, and the word soccer. The point is, farming is American. Getting up before sunrise for a day of hard work, good values passing down generations, and every family member pitching in. Regardless of how much American it is, though, farming is ruled by the same principles as other economic activity anywhere in the world: the law of supply and demand. The law of supply dictates when prices increase, so does the supply, aimed at increasing profits. On the other hand, the law of demand says a drop in price causes a rise in demand, aimed at getting more for less. The farmers need to make as much profit as possible, and the buyers love to spend as little money as possible will force them to agree on a specific equilibrium price. But these laws do not account for the farm problem. As technology grows, it becomes ridiculously easy to grow more and overwhelm the market with low-value crops. The fundamental nature of the farmer, his self-interest, however, will push him to produce even more in the hope of benefiting from scale. When everyone does this, obviously, the market crashes. Whoever causes it, the seller, the buyer, or even the farmer himself, Uncle Sam will always be there to save the farmer. The concept of government paying its farmers to cut production goes to the early 20th century and the century's largest economic crash. Pre-October 1929, life was great. Farmers were producing a lot thanks to technology, and city dwellers were investing all they had on the rising stock market. Then, on October 29, 1929, or the Black Tuesday as famously known, the stock market crashed, wiping out most city dwellers' life savings. The Great Depression has begun. With no bank deposits insured, no national safety net, and no public employment insurance, no one had the money to buy food. Farmers, so desperate and willing to do anything to pay their debts, started their tractors and went farming. Eventually, the overproduction would force the already low price even lower, and by the early 1930s, most farmers would go bankrupt. Harvests were left on the field, and animals were left slaughtered to rot because selling them would cost more money than not. It was not until March 4, 1933, when FDR took office, that things started to turn around. By his first 100th day, FDR had presented bill after bill, which Congress had granted all, thus creating the first 100 days judgment by Americans for every president to come since. Among his numerous bills was the Farmers Relief Act of 1933, under which the government paid compensation to farmers who left their lands idle and reduced output. With this, FDR created an artificial scarcity and doubled the average income of farmers. However, in 1936, the Supreme Court decided the federal government had no power to regulate agricultural production, thereby terminating the federal compensation. After the bill's failure, FDR and his team composed a new bill that got the Supreme Court's blessing: subsidy for planting soil-enriching crops that would not be sold on the market. After the Second World War, the Great Depression ended, leaving many things to their pre-1929 state. What never came back, though, was the absence of government intervention in the country's agricultural system. The United States Congress still comes together every 5 years to authorize a form of the Farmers Relief Act of 1933, which now goes by the name of the Farm Bill, with a price tag of $100 billion a year. The last bill, which President Donald Trump signed into law on December 20, 2018, allocated a total of $428 billion for a 5-year period. But according to the United States Congressional Budget Office estimates, of the total amount, only 4 of the 12 titles get 99% of the fund. 76% goes to the Supplementary Nutrition Assistance Program, or food stamps, to assist 36 million low-income Americans with access to affordable food. 7% goes to conservation that helps the farmers with land retirement, the limit of land use, and general conservation of the environment on their land. Where the magic happens, though, is in that 16% that goes to federal crop insurance and commodity support programs. With just 16% of the fund, the government guarantees the farmer a fixed income and cheap crop insurance. For example, the Commodity Support Program has within itself agricultural risk coverage, which guarantees monetary support if revenue fell below the last 5-year average, and price loss coverage that guarantees money support for prices set at the national level. In other words, if you, the farmer, found your crops priced lower than what the government predicted, maybe due to general market overproduction, the government will make up the price loss. With the remaining 9%, under federal crop insurance, the government will ensure that the farmer is always protected from disasters, yield loss, and revenue loss by subsidizing the insurance premium. What this all means in simple terms is, when farmers are too productive as a market, the price of their crop falls, so the government pays them money to remedy their overproduction. This system, however, is not without its cracks. As a matter of fact, on the previous farm bill, small farmers of less than $55,000 of income, which the bill is supposed to be helping, received only 10% of the subsidy, while farmers making over $300,000 received 30% more. An even larger problem is the lack of diversity. Crops covered under commodity support are limited to a small club of widely traded crops like wheat, soybeans, corn, and rice. So when your paycheck is calculated based on the acres of these crops, you are unlikely to produce anything else. So why not just end the farm bill? Well, that is possible if Congress fails to authorize new farm bills, but it will have little to no effect on the current system. The most significant portion of the farm bill, the food stamp, is part of a permanent law. So is federal crop insurance. This means even if a new farm bill is not approved, these programs will remain mostly consistent, funded under congressional appropriations. Some other programs would also revert to being governed by old permanent laws of 1938 or 1949 that would make no sense for the current market. So the question turns from the bill to subsidy itself. What would happen if subsidy were eliminated? Let's say one day the government cuts the farmer off. What exactly will happen? This could go in two ways. The first is, now that the government has cut them off and they have no incentive to fight with the corporate farm, the small farmers will diversify and follow their dreams. As for the big farms, well, now they will have to compete with international markets more fairly. If the big farms have a comparative advantage, that is, if they can produce crops for a smaller cost than other farms internationally, they will become an even larger mega corporations. But if the price of crop production is higher for the big farms, which it probably is, then they will have to find another field where they have a comparative advantage and quit this market. Either way, it's an economic win-win for the market. But here is why the big farms are more likely to quit the market. If the subsidy were cut off, then the big farms, along with the small family farms, will have to cover the full amount of their insurance premium by themselves. None of them are charity organizations, so they will have to charge their consumers more. With the end of subsidy, though, the poor Americans supported by food stamps now have to cover their costs, which is even more expensive due to the price increase. But neither the family farms nor the corporate ones will need to worry, because the government is unlikely to cut them off. The subsidies are not only a way to help the farmer keep floating and control surplus, but also a significant way to avoid dependency on imported products. So at least until 2023, the government will subsidize everyone for the coming years. And the whole cycle continues again when Congress approves the new farm bill. This has been an exciting project to take on. If you like it, then consider subscribing for more, right under the like button.